obviously you said that this takes place in the same universe as Kane. And I like the idea, and I'm seeing more. And I don't know if you guys are, as I don't know how many comics you both read, but I'm a huge Zenescope fan, and even Dynamite has done it, and a variety of other companies are now starting to do it, where they're really building out their worlds, and they're also threading what has been done in the past, and they're really making a move, just either having a big event or having things collide, or building out parts collision, whatever you want to call it, and so what is this like? Because you have some guidance, but you also get to define parts of this world, and that's good and bad, and also taking a big approach. Because I know comic creators who say, look, this book is in its own world, and this other title's in its own world, and they don't interact. And so what was all that decision as well, saying, hey, we're going to have a whole universe that we're building out here that 6 months from now, when you launch a third title, that's going to also be in there somewhere. And because that gets tricky at a certain point, right?
Yeah. And most of these people, a lot of them will probably tell you that the MCU probably got a lot of people to start doing the world building. But embarrassingly, as a grown man, I'm a really big fan of the Arrowverse, and that's where I got it from. I love those shows, even though they're corny boy shirt off shows. And I love seeing characters that I like from one show showing up in another one. It's one of my favorite things in the world. So it was always supposed to be like this. Everything that I write from here on until I die will probably be set in this universe. It's awesome.
So to even go further into that, because where this gets tricky, and I obviously speak to a lot of comic people, is that what parameters have you set up and how far do you have it mapped out? Because when you start going into world building, and we've seen this in the MCU with Spider-Man No Way Home, they kind of shot themselves in the foot, where it's a little wonky what they've done in some of the Marvel movies, and some of that timeline stuff doesn't make sense. And so what is this like for you, and how are you planning and building it out and putting all the pieces together? Because that's where it gets tricky. And I know, because I spoke to a lot of different people, and they all have different ways they do it. And I'm curious, like, what do you have in motion, and how do you plan all this out? Because it gets complicated when this book takes place before Kane, but it directly impacts Kane. And then when you do another book that directs it over here, and then this event over here that doesn't seem connected goes there, and then you have a whole WCW booking crisis on your hand.
What you say is true, but tell me it wasn't badass to watch Tobey Maguire walk through that portal as an older man. That was awesome. It was
and
great. The fact that they made Andrew Garfield, the fact that they turned Andrew Garfield into the Spider-Man that everybody thought he was, the mopey emo Spider-Man, was amazing. They made him a whiner, which is how I always saw him. But, it helps that originally I planned on hiring writers to do each series, but anytime I hired someone, they wrote something I hated, no matter how much detail I gave them. They wrote something I hated. So I just decided that even if it turns my hair gray before I turn 35, I will write every single book. So it helps to keep everything in focus. And whenever I have to write like a string from one to the other, I can always go back to an old script and look and make sure I'm writing the right thing. And what I'm going to start doing is I have it mapped out from where we are. I refer to them as seasons, but storylines, whatever. At least 3 seasons ahead, possibly 4, depending on how I do it. But we have Kane, we have Unidentified for this round, and then the next one, we have another book that we're going to launch for the next series of books we do. And then after that, we're going to launch a 4th one. That's how far we have it mapped out right now. And also for our big finale of this, it's basically our endgame storyline that we're going to do in 4 seasons from now. I think I'm going to do an anthology as like a stretch goal for every Kickstarter we do between here and then. And I'm going to do like a 10-page anthology story for every Kickstarter that we do. And I'm going to do it in black and white to add other characters that I want to have in the final story when it comes time. Because I don't want to spend another $3,000 per book to introduce a minor character